Ever bought your dream house, moved in, unpacked, got settled, the whole 9 yards, only to find out, whoops, there's this, like, teensy little funding issue for the entire neighborhood.
Yeah, talk about a welcome Matt snafu.
Right. That's the story we're diving into today. A letter about a neighborhood revitalization project here in Baltimore called Station East.
It's really gets into those, behind the scenes financial dealings that make or break these big projects.
Yeah, and this isn't just some dry financial report. This is a real letter dated October 24th, 2019. It's from Mel Freeman at Eager Street Development, the developer for Station East, to a homeowner named Nicholas Miles.
And it all boils down to these things called MHT, historic tax credit funds.
Right, right. So, like, imagine those historic tax credits as, I don't know, coupons for developers who take on these old, sometimes crumbling buildings.
Basically, yeah, big incentive to rehab instead of just tearing things down.
Exactly. They get a nice chunk of change back from the
Yeah.
state, right? Makes it possible to offer homes at a price more people can actually afford.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet deal if you're rehabbing a historic building. Let's say they spend like $1 million, right, on qualified rehab work. With these MHTs, these Maryland historic tax credits, they'd get a credit back for like 20% of that.
Mm.
So boom, 200 grand off their tax bill.
Whoa, okay. 200 grand. Big difference. Suddenly, those gorgeous old details aren't such a financial burden to restore.
Exactly. And that's exactly what Eager Street is saying they were counting on with Nicholas Miles.
Yeah.
They're claiming he was supposed to, sign over those MHT funds after he bought the place.
And it wasn't chump change either, right?
Hmm.
The letter makes a big deal about how crucial these MHT funds were for the entire Station East project, like not just to pretty up a few houses.
Right, right. These revitalization efforts often live and die by those tax credits. It's what makes the whole thing financially possible.
Okay, so now I'm wondering, like, who are they hoping would move into Station East in the first place? Were they aiming for a certain income level, to make the neighborhood more diverse? Did that all hinge on these tax credits?
You hit the nail on the head. The letter actually says they would have had to jack up the prices if they weren't getting those MHT funds from every homeowner.
Wow. So, yeah, if the whole project was planned around those credits, that definitely limits who can afford to live there. Makes you think about the whole idea of, like, accessible housing and who benefits from these fancy revitalization projects, right?
Absolutely. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, what was the vibe between the developer and Nicholas Miles?
Mhm.
This letter doesn't exactly scream bad blood.
Right. I noticed that too. It never actually accuses him of anything shady. It's more like they're suggesting maybe he just missed a line or two in the fine print.
Maybe. Or maybe it was way more complicated.
Mhm.
Sadly, we only have this letter, so who knows what Nicholas Miles's take on it was. Maybe he had a totally different story.
Did he pay them back in the end? Did lawyers get involved?
I need to know the ending to this story. Me too. But even without a neat little bow on top, this whole thing really highlights how these community development projects balance on like this crazy tightrope of financial agreements.
And that there are real people caught in the middle. I mean, imagine being Nicholas Miles, right? Buying your dream house, thinking everything's cool, and then bam, this letter shows up.
It's a good reminder that behind all the shiny new stuff and those revitalized neighborhoods, there's a whole lot of negotiating and deal making going on.
It makes you wonder what other deals are being made? What really shapes our neighborhoods and who gets a say in all of it?
Big questions for sure.
Definitely something to think about.